All right, welcome back, everybody. You join us with the BMW now, your other Auburn iRacing team at Sebring this week, also number 33. And this team is in P2 right now with Stuart McFall at the wheel. Stuart's a junior from Sarasota, Florida, materials engineering major. This is his third year with Auburn iRacing. Former high school football player is Stuart, and he's going to need that endurance. As we have it on good authority, he is running a triple stint to start this one. So Stuart going to be in the seat in this BMW for a while, but he's done good work. This BMW started in 8th today, and Stuart has worked his way up to second, just 3.3 seconds behind the leading Ferrari, and that gap has been stable for the last few laps. So running a good pace in second right now, as against a lower split lobby. They're all running at the same time, but still, regardless of split, for this team to be up in second is an extremely impressive start and puts you in a great position as this race goes on. You see the gap down to 2.8. You wonder if there was a bit of an issue off Le Mans for the Ferrari, but still closing in ever steady is this BMW, and I'm excited to watch how this BMW goes. We talked about the Mercedes with its 3-driver team. We got 4 on the BMW today. It is Stuart, who's in the car right now, and then Nathan Roth, who you might have seen on Wednesday in CIL action in the Corvette. Then Logan Smith, who brought home a top 10 in this very BMW on Wednesday in his first CIL sports car event of the year. So he'll be looking to continue to deliver on that consistency. And then your 4th driver today is Steven Russell in the BMW, as it is a fairly experienced team in this BMW today. Logan is one of Auburn's CIL Cup Series drivers who is very quick, but if you've watched any of those broadcasts, you'll know he has had some brutal luck on Mondays. So hoping for a little bit of a change today on the Saturday here in the 12 hours of Sebring, as we are a little over 40 minutes in now, and just some smooth, solid racing so far for this BMW. Gap to the leader now down to 2.6, so Stuart has got the gas pedal down right now, has got traffic closing in behind him. That's a couple of GTP Porsches. And here is the leading Ferrari right now, the Udai Sim racing car. I will say it's a little bit funny to see a blue Ferrari. You're obviously used to red, silver, or in some cases green in GT3 racing, but you see Stuart in the background of the shot there. He is closing fast on this leading Ferrari. And fun fact for you guys, Ferrari actually did race a blue car in F1 once, all the way back in the 50s. I believe it had something to do with a protest from Enzo Ferrari as to a certain regulation. I don't know the full details, but Ferrari has run a blue car in the top level of motorsport before, so not as odd as it might seem, as regardless of what color it is, that Ferrari is currently being hawked down by the Auburn BMW and Stuart McFall trying to close in. As it's Elliott Beasley in the seat of the Ferrari right now. See that on your ticker on the bottom left there of the screen, and Beasley trying to hold back McFall, but there's some great pace in that BMW right now. I remember talking to these guys as we were getting going. There was a little bit of a joke at one of the Auburn iRacing meetings a couple of weeks ago that Stuart had strong-armed everyone into the BMW. He was defending himself, saying, no, we all like the BMW, and they did agree that they all did like the BMW, but definitely Stuart was campaigning for it, and you can see why. He is flying right now in this M4 Evo, trying to close in on the Ferrari. He's got it down to 2 seconds now out of the hairpin, and this might be getting really close really quickly, as these two guys have both bolted 8.9 seconds from Stuart back to the 3rd place Porsche. So some great pace from this Auburn iRacing team right now as we head through Collier and up towards Tower. More GTPs closing in, but those should be able to catch cleanly and go by. Now down to 1.8. McFall is flying right now in this BMW. Let's ride on board with Stuart right now as the GTPs come by. Let's take a look at what he's seeing through here. So You'll see a GTP fly by here in just a moment through Le Mans, but this will kind of give you an idea of what it's like to drive here at Sebring. You'll notice an extremely bumpy track for especially this portion down into Sunset. It's such a high-speed corner, such a long corner. You really have to be careful when you get back to the throttles. You watch the entry of the corner here. You go wide almost all the way out to the cones, and then cutting back in, you can really get on the throttle under the bridge and really open it up off the corner, ride that little bit of banking you get there, and then power down the front stretch. As Stewart is chasing after this Ferrari, this is one of my favorite corners on the entire track. Turn 1, long sweeping, let the GTP go by right there, cut back in by the wall, pick up power. It feels like you're going to run into the dirt, but you keep the power in, you clip the curb there, and now into this first sector of the lap. Technical complex through here with a couple of left-handers and that right kink. Exit tightens up here as you head down towards Big Bend. Full power through here, no need to lift for anything. As you head towards the hairpin, you see the Ferrari getting out of the way of the leading GTP here, but the hairpin, this is a corner you really have to late apex because of how it tightens, so you want to really hit the back into that curb and then ride the exit curve there on the left and keep the power down as you head up towards Cunningham. And this is my favorite part of Sebring right here. This complex is so satisfying when you get it right. It feels extremely flowing, just a little bit of let off on the brake to help turn the car in as you go through. You saw a little bit of a twitch from the BMW through there, but Collier flat most of the time, although you might lift on cold tires occasionally if you're feeling a little bit unsteady. And now down towards and out of Tower and into Bishop. Quick, successive left-handers, both flat out, as now you get the right-hander and then this quick left-hander and then into Le Mans. Get it all the way out there, tuck the nose back in, get on the power, and you ride the curb out to the exit there. So very bumpy track, very technical track. There's a lot of corners you really have to wait to get on the power. Patience is rewarded here at Sebring. You see the gap to the leader stabilized at about 2 seconds now, 2.2, and now down to 1.8. So bouncing back and forth a little bit as I believe that GTP is diving into the pits in front there. Is now closing the lap. GT3 traffic is the lead Ferrari. So a lot of your GTPs on pit road right now. Initial stops about 50 minutes into this one. Looking back at Stewart here. Still about 2.4 seconds back, but still, he has continued to pull away from the Porsche in third, that Can-Am VRL.com racing team. 10 seconds now the gap from Stewart back to the Porsche in third. So at this point, it can be full focus forward and continue to attack. Here is that Porsche with the McLaren right on the back of him, the E-Squadra Lento Competizione. McLaren in third, and that 720S I think looks awesome. That's purely on body style. Excuse me. I think that is my second favorite GT3 right now to the Corvette. But nice little Walmart livery on there. Save money, live better. We are not sponsored. Down on the back of this Porsche, chasing towards Cunningham as this McLaren might look to go for a run. It's a difficult place to make a move, but if you get enough of a run, you can send it down the inside through here as we take a look on board the Porsche, looking forward, waiting to see if we see that McLaren appear, but a little bit wide right there, back up into Tower. This is a really difficult place to make a move. You have to have a great run and dive it, but you can set yourself up out of Tower and through Bishop and try to set yourself up, really not even into Le Mans much, but if you stay on the back through this entire complex, what you're really trying to do is set up an opportunity into Sunset where you can block off the other car's ability to cut back to the apex and pick up throttle and really complete moves out there. So your GTP leader is in the pits right now, and second place in your LMP2 is in the pits. So GT3's still out there right now as these two guys continue to battle. It is Chuck Leonard in third here in the Porsche, and then Daniel Doan in the McLaren behind. It's going to be off of Sunset right here, just about 0.3 of a second between those two, but Stewart is closing the gap again up towards this Ferrari, down to 1.8 seconds. They've both gotten by that lap car, the Lamborghini at the back of the GT3 field, but some really consistent race pace right now for the BMW. And that's the thing, is even if you don't qualify right at the top of these fields for endurance events, it's so key for how consistent you can be. That's really a main part of endurance racing, where it's not always going to be the guy who's the fastest out and out driver that's going to win these events. It's going to be the people who can limit mistakes the most, who can stay the closest to their best lap. For instance, you're looking at lap times right now. McFall 2018 last time. So let's say if he's running 2018 over and over and over and over, and he's consistent, whereas Beasley maybe pulls out 2015, but then hits him with that 2022, like you saw in the last lap. That bouncing back and forth is going to cost you more time over the long run, and at the end of the day, especially just for even tire wear as well, it helps out your engineers. Just the more consistent you can be on your lap time, the better it's going to be all day long. And speaking of our engineers today, we got quite the engineering crew. Obviously, Auburn iRacing is done through the Auburn Ginn College of Engineering, and there are a lot of engineers that help out on these different events. As scrolling to find our engineer's name, as well as Joshua Blunt and Jackson Marcinet, I believe it's pronounced, for this BMW today. So Josh and Jackson both back in the war room right now, making the calls for this BMW today. And the calls look to be so far, hey, just give Stewart the steering wheel and let him go to work, because he has absolutely been doing that. Now down to 1.1 behind the Ferrari out front. And this triple stint to start is looking like a great decision, because if this is the pace that McFall is going to come out with and run early, that's going to put Auburn in a great position after getting 3 consecutive stints of that as we close in on the end of hour number 1. McFall now has it right to a second, right on the back of the Ferrari, trying to push his way forward, as down towards the hairpin, he's going to not quite be there, but you got to imagine through the rest of this lap, with the pace he's shown, he's going to be able to close up. So do we see a move maybe there next time, as following into the heart of the lap here, up towards Cunningham, through Fangio first. Lovely little chicane right here. I've always thought it was interesting that they called it a chicane, considering it doesn't really feel like corners when you're in the car driving through there. It's completely flat. It feels more like a couple of kinks than a honest chicane, but regardless, that's what it's called. As up through Tower now. A little bit of a gap pulled out from the Ferrari. 1.3 is Beasley just trying to get a little bit of a gap back, but this portion of the lap has been where McFall has been really good so far. You look at the sectors on your screen as well, trying to close. And this wide entry here, it's so difficult through Le Mans. You got to wait so long to properly pick up the throttle and push back forward. Is now down towards Sunset again. That gap still at about 1 second. But one thing I have noticed with these two is anytime GTP or LMP2 traffic comes by, Stewart gains a large amount of time. So don't know if that's just been unlucky spots for Beasley as the Ferrari dives in. Ferrari into the pits. So Auburn going to stay out with McFall here, and they are going to take the lead. Stewart McFall into P1, and then the Auburn BMW, as we'll wait to see what the pit calls are from the Auburn engineering team, what Josh and Jackson want to do with this BMW. Jackson, a junior from Huntsville, and Joshua, a sophomore from Lexington, Kentucky, both mechanical engineering majors, so definitely should have a pretty good handle on this, both these guys, for a 12-hour event like this. Obviously, it's so much work on the engineering side that gets put into setups and all of the behind-the-scenes work that you don't always get to see as much of, especially with an iRacing team that I feel like a lot of people would not necessarily think of there being engineers, but we have these guys doing a great job week in and week out for the entire program. So excited to see what kind of strategy they come up with for this BMW today. As that's a little bit wide from Stewart, having to cut back in, as you wonder, maybe a little bit worn on the tires, thinking about wanting to come down pit road. But right now, they say leading makes everything better, so maybe he's feeling better about the car that way out in P1 right now. And still in the pits is the Ferrari. as it is quite a long time here on pit road at Sebring. A lot of the time. So McFall through this final couple of corners in the Le Mans complex, about to head down towards Sunset. We'll see if he gets called into the pits this time. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a bit of an overcut move from the Auburn strategy team and the Auburn engineering team with the pace that McFall has shown to say, hey, stay out there. We know you're running good laps. Just keep running good laps. But we'll see what the fuel strategy ends up being when he's limited to come in, is following through Sunset right now. And he's in. McFall into the pits. We'll stay with him. And you'll be able to follow along on your leaderboards. That Ferrari is still listed as being in the pits. I got to imagine that he's out by now. You see McFall overshot just slightly, had to back up a little bit into the pit box. Service going on. You saw the air jacks go up from the in-car view. There's that McLaren that was running fourth into the pits, so you get a little bit of an idea of the gap that McFall has on these other guys. As we'll take a look at car 27 here, the Ferrari, you see back out on track, heading down towards Sunset right now. We'll stay with the Ferrari to keep an eye on when he gets to pit exit, if we see McFall coming out just behind him or just ahead of him. But it's so difficult here at Sebring with cold tires because of how bumpy the track is. It's extremely flat here. You don't get a ton of grip anyway, and so trying to work through that with cold tires is a difficult strategy on a lot of days. Is the Ferrari is through, and I believe McFall's in front. Yeah, there is Stewart in front of the GTP, so great call from the Auburn strategy team to get the lead, but McFall's going to go wide through that corner. We mentioned cold tires. That is what happens right there. It's less grip. You have to adjust your braking points, and McFall a bit wide again. It's just so difficult on these cold tires here at Sebring. You lose time. It feels like the entire first lap and even some of your second lap out. Trying to build temperature back in is now Cadillac GTP going to go by on the inside, McFall having to cut back in, and this is where you start to worry a little bit about just making sure you can get the tires into the working window without shocking them too much. You don't want to push too hard too fast and take too much of the life out of these brand new tires, but that's cold tires for you. We mentioned the difficulty at Sebring is now McFall's off again at Cunningham, trying to get it back on the track. As extremely difficult outlap here for the Auburn BMW, now up towards Tower. You got to imagine those tires are dirty as well now, trying to get to the corner, and I will be extremely curious to see what this gap is once you get back to the line. It's showing as 4.1 seconds on the bottom right, but that's back to Doan in the McLaren, so that is not the gap we're looking for out front. We'll wait when we get back to the start-finish line what this gap is between McFall and the Ferrari of Beasley, as here is Elliott Beasley heading down towards Sunset. And that's where it's a part where the driver can really make a difference, is after pit stops. You have to be so careful bringing the car in smoothly on the cold tires. We saw how easy it is to make mistakes. You're going to see guys do that all day. So just a matter of being able to stay consistent as we move through this one, as we wait for the gap to update here for Stewart across the start-finish line. Looks like about just under 6 seconds. Oh, trying to hold on to it. Good save from McFall as that got away from him on the entry of turn one. A little bit of a four-wheel drift from Stewart through turn one, as he is not liking the handling of this BMW on the cold tires off the pit stop. Feels like he's just hanging on in there right now. Now 8.9 seconds back of the lead, so from just on the back, a second back, all the way down to 8.9 back, with third and fourth right behind. So this is where you really need to settle down. LP2 just goes straight on at the hairpin. Not what you want to do there. I'm no expert, but as the Gran Turismo movie said, the line is not optimal through that hairpin for the LMP2. Let's take a look at that again. I want to see the onboard from Stewart as we look at this, just to see what that looked like from inside the cockpit of the BMW. Yeah, let's take a look at this under the hairpin. And goodbye. You saw the lockup on the left front. That tire stopped rolling, and I don't know if you know this, guys. Tires work better when they're rolling. As you see, just straight on, all 4 tires locked on that LMP2. It looks like when it doesn't render in properly in the video game, the wheels aren't spinning. It's gliding across the track, but goodness, what a event there. As now Stewart has both the McLaren and the Porsche right behind him. It's Daniel Doan and this Walmart McLaren. Looks to have pretty good pace right now, honestly, heading towards the back of Stewart. The McLaren jumped the Porsche, in the pit cycle, so now down towards Sunset. He's trying to keep pushing forward, and for Stewart, I think he really just got to settle down right now. Obviously, he made a couple mistakes. You don't want to do too much of that, but you can't let it compound, as you see, trying to take that wider line, trying to build momentum, and down towards turn 1. We saw it last time. It got a little bit hairy through here for Stewart, so hopefully he can get back on it. As you see, much cleaner line through turn 1 that time for the BMW. But you got to wonder as well, any potential shocks to the tires from that excursion, or not excursion, but the 4-wheel drift as the LMP2 went straight on again in the background. That guy's on the struggle bus right now. But McFall heading towards Big Bend now. Still trying to hold on the second. It looks like he's got his handle back on here, trying to push off the front of these 2 cars behind him. But obviously a 9.8-second deficit after it only being 1 second to pits is not what you want. And at the end of the day, that's something you'll learn for the next stop. Obviously, with the triple stint, he gets another shot on cold tires. So obviously, they talk about you can learn stuff for whenever you have it the next time. It'll definitely be a learning experience for McFall moving forward as he looks to attack his 3rd stint later today. But over an hour done here at Sebring in the 12 hours, so over a 12th of the way through. I'm not good at math, but I can do 12 divided by 12 as this BMW with McFall in the cockpit now headed down towards Bishop, still hanging on to second. The Porsche's gotten by the McLaren as Doan dropped off a little bit through that middle portion of the lap, but this Can-Am VRL Porsche trying to close in on McFall, as that needs to be blue flags for this Mustang. Get out of the way. There he goes, down towards Sunset, peeling off to the side, obeying the blue flags. And now here comes this LMP2 that keeps locking up the tires. I would be very wary of that if I was Stewart. Down into Sunset. Ooh, jeez. LMP2 almost went into the back of him through there, as Stewart's going to get loose, and a bit of oversteer, had to catch it. Going to lose positions to the Porsche and the McLaren, maybe even the second Porsche, as that is the SOG Sports Line team that's going to go by Stewart as well. So down to 5th now, still 3 positions up from the start. Obviously started 8th, but once you get up to 2nd, it's difficult to be back down in 5th. It's been just a little bit of a scruffy start to the stint for McFall right now. This is where, as a driver, you have to take a deep breath, find your rhythm again, and you can't let the mistakes live in your head. I know it's difficult to do. Obviously, once you mess up in a spot once, you're thinking, oh, I don't want to do that again, and then you're going through that corner thinking about what you don't want to do again, and it gets you off your game a little bit. So trying to settle back in is McFall, trying to push back forward, but it's always a bit tough when you get off your rhythm to try to find it again. So we'll stay with Stewart through this middle portion of the lap. First through Cunningham. You saw the GTP of the Porsche get by there, as now traffic's cleared out a little bit for him, so should have a nice little bit of track to work with and kind of lock back in here as the Porsche in front of SOG Sportsline. And what's a great looking livery, by the way. I love that white and maroon on that. It looks like a very classic racing livery on that Porsche, but obviously the best one in the field got to be the Samuel Ginn College of Engineering Auburn livery. Definitely, totally not biased in any way. as the BMW will now push down towards Sunset, trying to make a move on the Porsche. Obviously not going to be close enough here, but the more you stay on the back bumper, I think pressuring guys into mistakes is big too, because if you're living in their rear view mirror, it's going to be difficult for them to think about much of anything other than the fact that you're right behind them, and then thinking, oh, I don't need to mess up because he's right behind me. The more you think about not messing up, the more you are going to struggle and make mistakes. So just live in their mirror. Make sure you let them know you're there at the end of the day. That's really the best thing you can do. Is, oh, Stewart's going to lose it into turn one. BMW into the wall hard as a little bit of oversteer into turn one, had to catch it, overcorrected, and just flew into the tire barrier on the right side. So that'll be a pit stop on this lap for McFall. You see big damage, big wheel damage. It's going to be towed, actually, is too much damage to keep going. I was wondering when he pulled off the wall, but yeah, that's going to be a tow. Is let's ride on board with the BMW. As you see, through turn one, we saw him almost lose it through here a couple laps ago, and goes to brake, turns in, and just bites him. Overcorrects a little bit too much on the steering wheel, trying to go back to the right, and you see him just lose it. And at a corner that high speed, when you lose it like that, it's going to be in the wall pretty much every time, unfortunately. So for the second time today, we're going to have an Auburn car in the pits after a crash in either end of the front stretch. So the old airplane airstrip portion of Sebring has not been kind to the Auburn Tigers today, as BMW is going to pit for repairs an hour and 8 minutes into this one. Is a great start for McFall, got up from 8th to 2nd, but you saw it just never really got comfortable on that second set of tires, and eventually ended up losing it into turn one, as we'll wait for repair time on this BMW. But thank you to all of you for tuning in. I really enjoy bringing you these broadcasts. I mentioned a couple times before, as we take a look at repairs continuing, as we'll wait until we get an update on how much time it's going to take for this BMW to be back and ready to go. But it'll be multiple laps. So both Auburn teams today, now after wrecks, are going to be multiple laps down in their respective lobbies. Obviously, after the win on Wednesday here at Sebring, there were some pretty high hopes going into this event, and then running second, it's going to bring those up even more. Just unfortunately appears it was not to be. But that is endurance racing sometimes. But as that car is still getting towed, it'll be a long repair on that, probably double-digit minute repair time, possibly for this BMW. So as both cars were either just recently or are getting repaired after wrecks, we are going to end the start stream there. We'll be back in a couple hours to update you guys on the progress of both drivers, but unfortunately not the start Auburn iRacing was looking for, as Pierce Hanley in the Mercedes lost off the last corner, and then Stuart McFall into the first corner just had a snap that he couldn't quite catch. So big wrecks for both Auburn cars, big repair times for both Auburn cars, but we will end this stream, and hopefully we'll see all you guys back in a couple hours. So go somewhere, maybe take a little bit of a break, go for your morning run, morning workout, whatever you got to do. But we'll be back a little bit later today for more Auburn iRacing here at the 12 Hours of Sebring.